Welcome to TCS Podcast, where we're dedicated to helping you achieve extraordinary growth and success by supplying you with the tools, resources, and support necessary to not only build profitable businesses, but create a lasting impact on our families, companies, and communities. I'm Eric Guy, Director of Learning and Development here at TCS. Joining me today, Mr. James Hatfield, CRO at LiveSwitch. Looking forward to getting connected in stuff like this today, James. So welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, Eric. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. Now, we'll talk about LiveSwitch a little bit, but let's talk about your background first, because I think one of the things that when we first talked, you were pretty adamant about, hey, look, I've been on the ladder. I've been there. I've been where your audience has been, right? I can't remember your exact words, but give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, I definitely lived my life on a ladder. I've run painting companies, power washing companies, had crews, taking care of residential and commercial. I know all the good and bad and ugly of making sure the business runs, making sure people are hitting payroll, making sure customers are happy, and all the ins and outs of fun of making things happen and making our neighborhoods look great. So I'm a little different. And then I made the jump into technology, but I always can remember my roots, did it for many, many years. And I think that wires me up a little different when it comes to making sure, I can relate to the contractors in a different way than most tech nerds like myself can.
Yeah, which is interesting because I want to know, we didn't get to talk about this the last time we talked, but how did you make that leap? You're a contractor now, it's like tech, and it's pretty heavy tech. So one, tell us everything. Why did you do it? What prompted you to do it? Those kinds of things.
Oh yeah. Well, I never intended to. Honestly,
Yeah.
My goal is, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My grandfather, his dad passed away young, had to leave high school at 16. Can you imagine that? And go get a job to put food on the table. He worked at a tire shop, and my father's a self-made guy, built his own homes. He wanted me to be a plumber. My grandfather wanted me to be a painter. I went with the painting route instead of the plumbing route. And what I figured, I got my business going, got my crews going. I ran the business side of it. I had no problem. I learned how to apprentice myself and do proper work. But what I didn't understand is the numbers. I was like, when I go to the accountant, go to the bookkeeper, they'd be speaking English to me, and I'd just be nodding like, I got no idea what you're talking about. So I was like, all right, I got to do something about this because the numbers are kind of important. I want my top line growing and my bottom line being in a place where I'm actually profitable, right? So I put myself back to school at night. Went to a state school when they were actually affordable. Imagine affordable college, but I'm dating myself now. And I went right for business and accounting. I was like, that's where I'm headed. I know that's where I'm weak, So I started spending my time there and eventually ended up graduating. Took a little extra time to do that because when you're running businesses, you can imagine. And then I met a partner of mine, a business partner. He was running landscaping companies. He also had some property management, and he was graduating with the financial piece. And he created, out of all things, this financial expert technology that could take an income statement and balance sheet from your bookkeeper and then tell you in plain language, what does it mean? And I was like, that's really cool. And he's like, well, do you want to give it a shot? And I know you're good on the business side and selling. Why don't you give it a shot and try to sell it? I was like, all right, why not? Why not? I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't expecting to make any change in the technology. Well, we took that company from working in an incubator to an Inc. 500, which means we're one of the fastest growing companies in the country. And then it turned into, it's now a multi-billion-dollar company. Sold it to KKR, and then we got into nonprofits, and now we're back into for-profit technology. But I guess that was a good decision. Kind of worked out in the end. But my pain turned into a way that I could really relate and give back to where my roots. And now we're trying to do it again here at LiveSwitch. So that's another story we'll get into in a little bit.
Wow. I have so many questions for you because this month at TCS, for our inner circle, it's all technology. We've been talking about technology. I think today is about automating and things like that. And it's such, and maybe you can talk about your experience of how that helped you, and what's good, what's not good, how you kind of started, because there seems to be for ours, we have some people that come in that are running some small companies, and then we have others that are running some pretty large construction companies. What was that path for you? Like, what did you start? What did you find helpful
Yeah. So, I
first?
mean, as with most owners, everyone listening, technology makes us want to go take a nap, right? Because it's always way too difficult, right? Like, you know why? Because engineers built it. I always make fun of my engineers. I was like, you guys got soft hands. You've never spent life on a ladder. You don't know what we go through day to day, right? And now I don't know how to code and do all that. So I don't know what they go through. But I sure as heck know when I put my hands on most technology out there, it's way too complicated. I mean, we got to have classes for it. I got to get my guys off the job site so we can learn how to enter the jobs. And like, it's always what's frustrating me. You know, the piece of technology I loved the most back in the day was a Nextel walkie-talkie and my CB radio. You know why I like my CB radio on Nextel? It was one button and I talked to my guys. Like that was it. And so when I approach technology, I approach it from that angle. Like, what is one button that I don't even need an instruction manual for. Like, I want to create technology that I don't have to think, but always work. Like when I get in my truck, I want to turn the key and I want the thing to start and I want to drive. I don't really need to understand the engine, although I love the engines and I love
Yeah,
replacing stuff prior to them putting computers in my car. But I like things that just work and go and are simple and are tools like a paint spray gun. I love that thing. You just hit the trigger and boom, I'm painting faster. So that's where my mindset and my approach comes in to technology and even what we offer today. If I can't do it with one press, forget it. I don't even want it. So I think when people approach this, you're rightfully so gives you anxiety,
yeah,
because I just don't think all technology companies have been in the truck.
yeah. And that's a very good point, because I hear it a whole lot, and we're here, especially hearing it this month already. We're just a little bit into April, and we had one of our calls last night actually, and yeah, all kind of questions. What should I use? What should I start out with? This is too difficult. Why doesn't this do this? This does this, but it doesn't do that. It's clunky. Um, with that, I guess, what's LiveSwitch? Like, walk us through what that is, and is it simple or?
Yeah, so we didn't even start with contractors in mind. The people,
Yep.
so LiveSwitch, we've done all kinds of stuff. Like we did the Super Bowl this year, last year. If you go to an MLB ballpark and scan a QR code and scan it, and puts you on the Jumbotron, that's our stuff. If you remember when the NBA had the All-Star game in COVID and there were fans on the side, and then
Yep.
WWE wrestling, there were screens. We powered all that. That was our stuff. So we got the chance to work with the chief of police in Washington, D.C. to reinvent the 911 phone call, because all the 911 phone call is over the phone, right? You're trying to explain the situation, but you're in a compromised situation. So, the idea was, hey, all these smartphones have cameras on them now. Let's tap into that so the citizen can just point the camera at the situation and we can stream that right to the police car, fire truck, emergency medical so they can see what they're driving into. It's called situational awareness. So as they're building that, the government takes a while, as you can imagine. Shocker, I know. Um, I was like, well, who else could use this? So we approached some of these sports teams. Like I met the guy who takes care of the Tennessee Titans NFL football team. 20 years in the FBI. He takes care of the arena, makes sure everything's safe. I'm showing him everything. He said, James, I got the stupidest question. I'm like, what is it? He's like, can I just text my guy across the arena and he taps it and then he can show me what's going on? Because what we invented is no apps, a way to send a text to anyone in the world, and you tap it and you instantly see what the person sees. And you can record the whole thing, take remote photos. And so from there, when he said,
Wow.
oh, can I just send it to my guy across the arena when the trash cans fall over so I don't have to hop in my golf cart? That was back to my roots. I wonder who else could use this. And we started approaching home services, construction, contracting, and property management. And sure enough, I met this guy of all industries in the moving industry, like moving boxes, And he goes, James, you have no idea what you're sitting on. You are sitting on a pot of gold. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, James, the most expensive thing, and I should know this, the
Yeah.
most things that
Right.
I do is you put an hourly rate guy in one of my trucks and I'm burning up gas to drive all over town to bid on work, and I'm not even guaranteed the job. He's like, we'll just start initially looking at what we need to bid on before we drive out. And sometimes I can even win the business. Other times it'll tell me I don't need to bother driving out because that person's just getting some free consulting or kicking my tires, you know? So now I can see it and then decide to go out. And he was so right. And that's where we started. And now we got thousands and thousands of users and hundreds of businesses, all kinds, all over the world using it. So from 911 phone call, reinventing right back to the contractors. And I feel like I'm at home again, which is the best part for me personally.
So if I'm understanding you right, I could be a potential customer to you internally. Like I'm in my house, we're having you can go live. I can just show you what needs done.
That's right.
Live.
Yeah, live. It's all live. We're only one of 4 companies that specialize in live video. So we're bringing that power right into your hands, and we're tuning it up for remote assistance. This isn't a FaceTime call. It's actually the reverse of a FaceTime call. We've had to invent it in a way that it really made sense for our contractors to be able to put eyes on a project and use the customer or someone on their team to walk them around while they're looking at their tablet or computer or even their phone sitting in their truck and see what's going on. So a project manager can manage multiple projects. A business owner now is going to get eyes on everything in the business, from sales to ops to customers. We're bringing basically the NFL instant replay into your business now that we all have cameras. Like, we should be using those things on the phone. But again, back to the point, it's got to be as easy as a Nextel walkie-talkie. So that's where we spend a lot of time making it easy.
So the people that are like skeptical of this technology, what do you usually hear as far as skepticism? Like, it can't be that easy.
You got to touch it. That's really what it comes down to. Seeing is believing. Like, I can go into make-believe land, but until you touch it, like, you see how easy it is. Like, if you can send a text, you can use it. It's so easy, your mama can use it, is what we like to say. Like, you get on there and you just tap the text and hit send, and all that your customer or your team member has to do is literally tap a text. If they can tap a text, you're connected, because there's nothing to download, no password to remember, none of that nonsense. It's just tap it, connect, and go. And we tune it all up to where now, if you're the owner or the project manager or the salesperson, you're looking at everything big on your screen, right? While your customer or your team member is walking around the job site, and they actually see themselves big and you small, which is the reverse of a FaceTime call, because they're looking through their phone. And people with thick glasses like me, I'll give you my lunch money later, Eric. I'm a big nerd now. I'm no longer the cool guy on the job site. So they can see what they're walking around and show you everything, right? Like you were there. That's really it.
So as far as accuracy, especially when I think about, our contractors, when getting the right information is very important. We have some that like in the Pacific Northwest, they can't do like drones and things like that because of trees. They're going to miss, or especially like our pavers and things like that. They're going to miss things just because of those trees and things like that. What have you found to be like accurate? What percentage of accuracy in doing that versus going out and just being face to face? Is it, is there any things that you need to kind of pay attention to? Is it pretty accurate?
It depends on the job, right? And it depends on how you typically use things. So are we going to prevent every flight on an airplane and every drive out in the truck? No. But I'm trying to prevent a percentage of that, right? Mm-hmm. The easy ones, the no nonsense stuff, the stuff where you're like, you get on job site and you're like, oh, why did I spend an hour in my truck just for that? Like, we've all had it. We've either driven up and been like, oh, I shouldn't have come this far. That's the first thing I want to eliminate, right? Now, you can add in other layers, right? You're going to add in, like, my roofers. They're still using the aerial shots from satellite. But now, when someone can walk around the property, they can also see pre-existing damage. They get a sense of doing that discovery where they're asking, hey, do you know how much this cost? Right? Like, it's stuff like that, because think of it as a 1-2 punch, right? My first punch is that virtual connection and the video, and I'm looking at everything. Now, some jobs are so dang easy. You've seen them a million times. You're just going to say, hey, this is what it takes. Here's how much it costs. Like, we're done here, right? Because on the customer end, or I don't want to sit around and wait for you on a job site. That's not fun for me. Right. And plus, in some cases, I just want the work done. Like, I've seen your work. You're maybe a referral. I maybe used you before. Like, the faster you can tell me how much the thing costs, fine. Like, here's your money. Go get it done. When can you get it done? You want to nail those first, because that's going to take a certain percentage. The second part, when you get real difficult, right? And you're like, okay, I got to get more measurements. I got to do X, Y, and Z. Drive out. But remember to do your virtual visit first, your discovery, then drive out. It's giving you more of that information because, as much as a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 10,000. And sometimes my guys have just so used to doing things over the phone, they're doing it blind.
Yeah.
They're relying on someone to tell them. Like, we don't need to do that anymore. Like, things have changed with these cameras. So let's use that different. And it goes through the entire process from when that lead first comes in, whether it's through the website, a phone, referral, and now hey, can I send you a text? Great. Show me what's going on. To, all right, now you're on the job site. You can whip out your phone and do some video documentation, whether you're doing your dailies, your weeklies, whether there's an issue. Oh, crap, we're doing excavating. We hit a pipe. All right, show me, boss. Show me what's going on. And you're recording everything into the cloud. So nothing's getting saved on your customer's phones or an employee phone. That's a liability. Because when you're scrolling through your photos, no one wants that. When I scroll through my photos, I want to see my kids. I want to see my friends. I don't want to see my job, right?
Yeah.
So we put it right into the cloud. Nothing's stored locally. And it's going to be all tuned up to where you can make comments on these videos. You can share it, whether you need to send it to insurance, send it to a project manager, send it to a spouse, send it to another, person who's making a decision on the job, right? And then you're documenting in case when you bury a pipe, you kind of forget where you buried it. When you put something behind a wall, you kind of forget what it used to look like. So now we can do videos and photos during the build that I might have to reference a year or two later, or I've got to send to a different technician or contractor or sub, and then, finally it's before and afters, it's customer testimonials, it's show me what's going on. Some guy's on a roof and like, hey boss, we got a problem when these windows is cracked. And you don't want to hop up on the ladder, just sit in the truck and send the guy a text while he's on the ladder on a scaffolding. He can show you what's going on. Right now, I hope your brain and your wheels are just turning. Yeah. Because you've had this tool in your pocket the whole time. It's sitting right there. You just never had a company come in and like say, hey, look, now let's put those suckers to work. Let's really, leverage that now in your business.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I do want to make sure we hit on one thing because you said something when we first talked about inmates to entrepreneurs. Right. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that, what that, how you started that, what's going on with that.
So my partner and I got into a lot of philanthropy. So as you build your businesses up, we want to give back, and you don't need to wait till you've made it until you give back. Like I always tell people, like, give back now. Like receiving is so much, giving is so much better than receiving. So if you can give now, even if it's just your time, so we believe in second chances. We put in thousands and thousands of currently and previously incarcerated men and women through our entrepreneurship programs. Okay. And it's been thousands of them. So many, in fact, that it turned into an ABC television show called Free Enterprise. My partner is a star of that show, and we won a bunch of awards for it. And we also hire people into our company that have gone through that. And we've experienced and seen so many men and women now start their own businesses, give back, those second chances. And the more that I talk to people, like I was just on with a very big remodeler last week. Boom. He had been previously incarcerated. I was just on with a guy who owns a landscaping company, previously incarcerated, because nobody wanted to give him a second chance or hire him. So they went into entrepreneurship, and we just believe that we all need second chances. We're all going to hit those low times in our life where our younger self, hey, we probably wish we didn't make those choices, but that's all right. We can get back up, we can stand back up, and we can try again, and we can make a real difference. So we really love that. It's a big part of what we're about. And I have other nonprofits as well, where we really give back to our communities. And we always want to leave things better than we found them.
Yeah. With that program, what kinds of things are you doing with them to kind of get them up, get them going, and as far as their leadership ability?
So we're educators first. And the other thing we do is we leverage network, right? So we're going to have other men and women who have been very successful in different areas of business, and we bring in those different thought leaders. We don't just do it all ourselves. And in fact, it doesn't really grow as a community if you try to do everything yourself. We're always trying to make ourselves redundant, not only in our for-profit businesses, but our nonprofit businesses. So we find those men and women that can come in to the prisons and teach. We go into the prisons ourselves and teach, and then there's a bunch of education afterwards, and then a whole community. It creates community because once the men graduate, they start their own businesses, they turn around and give back as well. And we can bring, because if you're incarcerated and you hear someone else who is incarcerated and you can see them, touch them, understand like, hey, I sat in that chair 3 years ago thinking I had no hope. right? So bringing someone who's been in that chair, turn around and say, hey, here's what I did to A, B, and C, and it's not as hard as you think, but it's still hard work. But it's the work worth doing now rather than the nonsense that we got into and wish we didn't do. So that's been exciting to create that community.
Was there any incentive to do, to do that incarcerated folks? Is there a backstory, or that's just kind of where you landed?
That's where our heart is. Our heart is. We
Yeah.
come from nothing. Like my partner comes from nothing. I come from nothing. We come from nothing. And so it's just like going back and giving back. And like I can see my friends from back then in the eyes of those men and women, and same with my business partner. It's just like we always kind of, I mean, I think you'll see a theme, whether it's our technology, whether it's who we are, whether it's give back, we remember where we came from, and that's where we want to be.
What would you say to contractors that are trying to lean into anything, technology wise? There's a lot of apprehension, at least what we see. There's a lot of apprehension. How do you kind of lean into it without just getting completely frustrated and going back to, paper and pencil?
Yeah, multiple ways. First, I surround myself with people who have been there before. As much as I like to be a pioneer, which I do because I'm a big futurist, as a business owner, I try to make sure I'm surrounded in those mastermind groups, that I'm putting myself in classes. I mean, that's why I went back to school, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't understand my finances. I wasn't just going to magically learn my finances. I had to go put myself and surround myself, in that case, with the education to get that piece of it. So when it comes to software, talk to the people around you. What's real? What's not? What's make believe? What's a pain in the butt? What do I really need? Where do I learn that? And if you have that, you can also put vendors in that circle. I know not every vendor is a greedy person trying to get in your wallet. Like I see hundreds and thousands of people that are doing this. I can tell you from different industries and your own industry, what is working. Like I love getting on with owners or operators or project managers and just sharing what I'm learning. And they tell me what other software they like as well. And I don't have a dog in the fight. Sometimes, like, I'm not getting paid by those other
Yeah.
companies. So I can just tell you straight up, like, here are the things that everybody's using, liking, what they don't like. And the same goes for our stuff. We're really trying to be educators first. I mean, we put on virtual conferences, we bring thought leaders together. We want to educate. I mean, that's our roots, just like Inmates to entrepreneurs. Like any industry we enter, we want to educate. And so I would say getting your mastermind group, getting a
Yep.
place of education, and then putting your vendors around you, that right there is going to be the parachute you need when you're trying to make these software decisions.
How do folks connect with you? I mean, I'm connected with you through LinkedIn, but if they want to find more information, what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, two ways for sure. LinkedIn, James Hatfield, reach out to me. Happy to connect, discuss more of these things. Alternatively, just go to liveswitch.com, LiveSwitch.com. Look for and ask for, say, I want a demo and I want to talk to James. Anyone listening, you can get me directly. You don't even have to go to my sales team. I'd be happy, Eric, to take care of any one of your listeners, because I know that anyone who's listening to a podcast is already 2 steps down the chessboard because they're spending time educating themselves, connecting to others, and you're putting yourself already in the lead compared to folks that aren't spending the time doing something like listening to Eric's podcast, which is, a game changer.
All right. Well, last question here, or kind of a statement. Like, what would you tell contractors on how they can kind of future proof their operations with not just tech, but leadership development?
Yeah, networking. All right. And I'm going to give you the secret sauce on how to network right now. Okay. Because I've come into so many different industries where I was a nobody and then I'm speaking on stages, right? How does that happen? And it can happen for you. You don't have to be in tech or software. You just need to be a person that is educating yourself and doing the best work you can. So, what I'm going to recommend you do is go into LinkedIn, put a nice profile picture up if you don't have one, put a little about section, put your experience. And then all you're going to do is every day, you're going to connect to 20 people. If you try to connect to more, LinkedIn will blacklist you. You don't want
Yeah.
that. So connect to 20 people in your industry. Just hit the connect button. Don't send them a love note. Don't send them a message. Just connect. And in the beginning, 1 out of 10 people will say yes to you, right? And then once a week, and you can do this in your off time. You literally can do this while you're sitting on a toilet. That's probably too much information, but you can connect while you're doing that, and you just connect with 20 people. And then once a week, put a before and after picture, put a podcast you listen to, share something you learned. right? People love that stuff. And here's what's going to happen for you. Mark it down. And then in the future, when you connect with people, you'll have like 100 connections and they'll be like, why don't I know this guy? Like 100 mutuals. And like, yeah, I need to know him. People are going to reach out to you. They may ask you to be on a podcast. They may ask you for your consulting work. They may ask you for business. You will make thousands of dollars if you do this. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. And we're talking about 10, 15 minutes of your time every day for thousands of dollars. And then you're going to connect and see who the who's are, because people share good quality information. You'll go to your navigation feed. Oh, I've never heard of this person before. I've never seen that before. Like, you're going to start. This is your form of education and networking combined. It's a powerhouse. And no, I don't work for LinkedIn. It's just made me so much money. I got to tell you that it works.
All right. Well, that was good, man. Thanks. I know we're probably going to have you back. I'll talk to you about popping into our other things that we have. But, thanks for the information. Thanks for doing what you're doing, trying to make life simpler for our contractors. Really appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Appreciate what you're doing too.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's a wrap for today of the TCS podcast. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep winning. We'll see you next time.